Receipt? I don't care. Move. Not serving you, take your bleep attitude somewhere else before I toss you out.
Morning rush at a neighborhood café. The owner sits quietly, sipping like any customer. A clerk leans in and drops 3 words. Guests only, sir. Receipt printer rattles. The POS pings. The line grows. Impatient in eyes turn. Label applied. Dignity sidelined. And a cup is marked void without policy to stand on. I won't argue. I'll open the dashboard. CCTV, intercom, and POS logs ready. One call. Ops timestamp. Store 214. Pull everything live. Sorta. In minutes, screens will tell the story. Terminate. Freeze. Log. Morning rush swells through the neighborhood café. Milk hisses, the ticket printer rattles like a metronome, and the front door chime keeps time with the line. I sit at the side bench in a gray hoodie and beanie, same as any regular, both hands around a 12-ounce cup, warming my fingers. This location runs on standards, I wrote. Yet today I am here to watch, not to perform a reveal. I take a slow sip and let the room settle. At the register, a clerk scans the crowd with the quick confidence of small authority. The shift lead hovers behind, eyes flicking between the screen and the pastry case. It is a normal American morning picture. Coffee bags stacked like bricks, community flyers near the napkin caddy, a small bell taps on the counter. The sound is clean. The system is supposed to be clean too. A man ahead of me orders an oat milk latte and slides right. The line advances. I rise, step forward, and set my cup on the counter to ask for a refill and a receipt copy. The clerk glances at my cup, at my hoodie, then at the door. Her voice lands flat, steady, practiced. Guests only, sir. 3 words. The room does not gasp. Instead, it tightens by a notch, the way fabric pulls when a thread is snagged. The printer shivers out a new ticket for someone else. The POS screen flashes an idle pop-up that the clerk swats away. She taps a few keys, pauses, then moves my cup 2 inches back toward me as if distance were policy. The shift lead leans in and adds a small note on the screen I can read from my angle. Flag customer. Void if unverified. It is not a code I wrote. It is not in any policy binder. I hold the cup. I do not raise my voice or tell my title. Quiet keeps the air clear. The right thing to do here is to ask for the policy page and the reason code. Instead, I give them one line. Log everything. The words are not angry. They are instruction. The clerk nods as if she understands, yet her hand still rests on the void key. Behind me, a couple at the window table looks over. Phones do not lift yet, but attention moves like a tide. The bell at the door rings again. The line now reaches the mat. The shift lead taps the intercom and calls for a code black at front, possible fraud. The phrase hangs there, a mismatch in a space that sells muffins and light. The printer clacks. Another order pushes through. Time keeps walking. I place the cup down and slide my phone from my pocket. Not to record, to work. The operations dashboard opens with one thumb. I tap store 214. The live modules swim up. POS events. Intercom logs. Camera, thumbnails. I select the register ID stamped in the lower right corner of the screen facing me. A ping confirms the connection. One call. Ops picks up with the crisp pace I pay for. This is a live timestamp for store 214. Pull intercom audio at front and the last 5 minutes of POS actions on register 1. Flag any code, language, and any manual void entries tied to unverified customer. The voice on the other end does not ask why. The system is built for this exact moment. The time bar at the top of my screen lights green. The clerk slides my cup aside again. The shift lead tells me we reserve product for paying customers. I nod at the screen. The dashboard shows a fresh event. Manual note created. Flag customer. Reason field blank. A second event stacks under it. Intercom message sent. Code black at front. Possible fraud. Camera 1 expands with a thumbnail of this counter, timestamp to the second, and a clear view of both of their name badges. I do not narrate any of this out loud. I do not say who I am. There is no point in winning an argument. I am here to measure standards. In a few more beats, the evidence will speak. The crowd energy has shifted from casual to curious. No one is angry. They are watchful. The room has learned to recognize the moment before a truth arrives. Ops pings back, audio captured and clipped, POS actions mirrored. Would you like a live share on the front monitor? Yes. The training tablet at the end of the counter blinks as the system hands it a window. It shows the 3 words the clerk used in text and time code. It shows the manual flag and the void attempt with no policy link attached. It shows the intercom phrase that does not belong inside any hospitality script I have signed. I draw one breath and let it out calm. In 2 minutes, the right people will stand here. The verdict will not be loud. It will be precise. A revoked register login for the shift lead. A freeze on bonuses for this location pending recert. A full incident log with camera, audio, and receipt IDs tied to this minute. I lift the cup, now warm more than hot, and take another sip. Standards are not a speech. Standards are a system, and the system has just started to speak. The second you step past the hook, the room's purpose becomes the real story. This caf is not just a coffee counter. Its profit and loss feeds a veterans hiring pipeline and a free Saturday tutoring table in the back room. Every shift runs on a standards tree I wrote with ops. Greet within 5 seconds, confirm payment before product moves, never label a person, only an event, and always document decisions with a policy code. If the tree breaks at one node, community money leaks. That is the stake. Not pride, not ego, outcomes. I watch the morning flow and map it to the system. Register 1 handles walk-ups. Register 2 covers mobile order pickups. The bar runs on a 2-person dance with a ticket printer as the conductor. Inventory movement is mirrored to a dashboard, so a void without a reason code is not a small clerical slip. It is a breach that can hide bias or theft. That is why the software tags manual void, reason blank in red and pings compliance. It is not personal, it is architecture. The clerk taps again and fails to select a reason. The shift lead speaks with that brisk cadence people use when they feel backed by a rule they never read. We reserve product for paying guests. The sentence would be fine if it stopped there. But the 3 words came first and aimed at a person, not a transaction. And then the intercom label escalated it from awkward to systemic. Code black at front, possible fraud. I can already see the memo that follows. The one that apologizes for the phrase, but not the habit. Near the espresso machine, a barista glances between me and the training tablet. She is the one who will become the truth keeper if she chooses to act. Every new hire completes a short founder deck on day 1 and refreshes it quarterly. The deck includes a simple scenario called owner on premises. It is not about recognizing a face, it is about recognizing authority flow. If someone invokes a label that is not in the script, or voids a product to redirect a person, you escalate to policy, not to insult. She taps the tablet awake and opens the deck. Her eyes catch the slide that lists the 3 default escalation paths for unusual cases. Verify payment, verify policy, verify identity. Identity is last and only if volunteered. She looks at the lead as if to say we are on the wrong path. Ops shares a live feed to the training tablet. It shows the intercom transcript, POS actions, and timestamps. The shift lead's shoulders stiffen. She does not apologize. She instructs the clerk to move my cup farther to the side. This is the exact moment where thin power tries to hold its ground. Thin power thinks volume makes policy, but the monitor with the logs is brighter than any voice. A customer in line finally lifts a phone, not for spectacle, but because transparency has trained them too. People know that when records exist, truth has a chance to travel. The barista clears her throat and says, I think we should check the policy page before any void. The clerk starts to reply, then closes her mouth. The lead says it is fine, we have discretion. The word discretion sounds noble. It is also where bias can hide. I call legal, not to threaten, but to prepare the clean landing. I ask them to be on standby for a quick policy readout and to verify that our store signage aligns with our guest rights statement. In a minute, I will need 2 lines read into the air with authority so this team can save face while we reset the standard. People do not learn well from shame, they learn from clarity. The dashboard shows the store's community ledger on the side panel, 20 tutoring slots funded this month, 2 veterans finishing their barista certification. The dollar amounts are small per cup, but compound across the quarter. When a team uses labels to push out a customer they cannot immediately place, they are not protecting the business. They are shrinking the mission. I let that fact settle in me, so my next words stay measured. Ops chimes again. Intercom audio clipped and transcribed. POS reason field still blank. Would you like district on the call? Yes, but in listen mode. The district manager joins silently. I step an inch closer to the counter to shorten the distance for the moment that will follow. I am not here to win a debate. I am here to draw a line and keep it painted. The barista who opened the training deck finds courage. She points at the screen and reads the header aloud for everyone within earshot. Never label a person. Label only the event and the policy. It lands like a bell. The line softens. The clerk looks down at the key she has been guarding, as if it might bite. I speak for the first time in a full sentence since the 3 words. Team, we will follow the script we pay for. Verify policy, then proceed. Ops, please push the owner on premises slide to the front monitor. The screen changes and the policy appears in crisp type. A system, not a scold. The atmosphere resets a degree toward order. We are almost ready for the reveal, not as a taunt, but as a teaching point with receipts. Before evidence lands, I map the actors. Because accountability needs names, roles, and actions. I start with the person in my seat. Black CEO, owner and ethics auditor, on premises without an entourage, here to test a normal Tuesday. My job is to keep the brand's dignity measurable. I do not perform anger, I perform standards. The tools in hand are simple and visible to anyone who works here. The operations dashboard, the intercom log, the POS action history, and a training deck that is supposed to be the North Star during stress. Across the counter is the shift lead. Her power is small but real. She controls register access, break timing, and the tone of the floor. On a good day, she uses that power to move the line, check waste, and coach. Today, she used it to apply a label to a person, not an event, then tried to nail that judgment into the system with a manual void and a note that does not exist in any policy. That is more than a customer service mistake. It is a breach of the script we teach, and it is traceable by timestamp, user ID, and workstation ID. To her right stands the new clerk, hands hovering over the keypad, learning by imitation. The clerk's instinct is compliance. If the lead says guests only and flags a cup, the clerk mirrors it. That is how culture propagates, minute by minute. If we do nothing, the phrase becomes normal, then it becomes a habit, then it becomes a story employees tell to justify outcomes. Fixing this moment is not about one apology. It is about interrupting a pattern at its source. On bar is the one I call the truth keeper, a barista who knows the founder deck and checks facts before opinions. She is not loud. She points, she reads, she anchors us to the page that says, never label a person and always attach a reason code to an exception. In the absence of courage at the register, the truth keeper becomes the hinge that swings the room from assumption back to procedure. Promotions are not rewards for charisma here. They are rewards for maintaining standards under pressure. I am already noting her employee ID. Around us is a small chorus that matters more than people realize. The crowd is the public record. Phones rise when policies fall. If the brand asks the community to trust our mission with their dollars, then the community has earned a front row seat when we test our integrity. I do not fear cameras. I fear unlogged decisions. Recordings without logs create spectacle. Recordings with logs create proof. We are building the latter. Offsite but present is the operations partner, listening through the audio bridge. Ops has the authority to mirror a screen, pull device IDs, and confirm exactly which account triggered which action. Next to Ops on standby is legal, who will read policy into the room like a clean line down the field so no one can pretend they did not hear it. District management has joined in listen mode, because discipline without learning just resets the same mistake later at another store. They are here to watch how an incident becomes a module in training, not gossip in a group chat. I also name the invisible actors so the story is complete, the badge reader that blinks when an employee logs in and out, the receipt printer that timestamps outcomes, whether we like them or not, the intercom that should be used for operational signals, not coded warnings aimed at people. Systems carry memory. If we respect them, they protect people and revenue. If we misuse them, they expose bias and cut trust. I take stock of signage because signage is policy for customers. The door says welcome and offers free water and restrooms to paying customers and to anyone in genuine need. The board behind the counter lists our guest rights statement in small print. Respect, receipts on request, clear reason codes for any denial of service. If a location forgets to post this, the burden falls on the person at the counter. That is unfair. Today, the signs are up. The misuse is not a gap in paper, it is a gap in practice. The lead glances at the training tablet again and ignores the slide ops just pushed. That tells me what the actual barrier is. Not knowledge, ego. Thin power resists correction because correction feels like a demotion in front of a crowd. My job is to make correction feel like a return to standards, not a personal loss. That is why I keep my voice even and my instructions crisp. When the system shows the truth, no one needs to shout. I check the clock in the corner of the dashboard. We are 7 minutes from the first 3 words. That is enough time to align the cast with their roles before the reveal. I am not here to humiliate. I am here to mark the line so clearly that the next time a label rises to someone's lips, they reach for a policy instead. The story will not end with a comeback quip. It will end with a promotion for the person who chose the manual called fairness, and with a retraining plan for those who didn't. That is the cast, that is the work, and that is how a coffee shop stays a public good, not just a place that sells caffeine. It starts with a gesture small enough to pass as routine. The shift lead slides my cup further from the pickup zone, a 2-inch correction that sends a larger message. The clerk follows by opening a note field on the POS and typing a label that doesn't exist in our script. The system accepts the keystrokes because it doesn't know intent, it only knows entries. But intent is audible in the next sentence. Guests only, sir, reiterated with that clipped rhythm that sounds like policy but isn't. I ask for the policy page calmly. Not a speech, not a challenge. Show me the code you're invoking. The lead points to a countertop placard about restrooms and space management. I nod. That sign governs seating and facilities, not a paid item already in hand, not a refill request, and not a receipt copy. Signs matter, but only in the lane they're designed for. I angle my phone so the dashboard's policy library is visible, owner on premises, guest rights, void and refund reasons, intercom usage, 4 tiles, one of them already pulsing because ops has pushed a live sync. The intercom chirps, code black at front, possible fraud. The words are light in tone and heavy in consequence. They summon attention from the back, and they also write an unnecessary stain into the log. I see the timestamp appear on my screen and feel the quiet anger I reserve for misused systems. Not because it hurts me, but because it hurts the people who follow behind me with less leverage and the same dignity. A man in line asks what code black means. The lead gives a vague answer about safety and verification. Safety is sacred in hospitality. It must not be a cloak for bias or convenience. The barista at the training tablet says we should check the reason code list before we void anything. Her voice is steady and practical. She does not say founder, owner, or CEO. She says the word that matters, code. I reopen the policy tile and read the top lines in a neutral tone so anyone near can hear. Label events, not people. Use approved reasons for any exception. Intercom is for operations, not for signaling about a person at the counter. The lead's jaw sets. She tells the clerk to proceed with a manual void and to hold the cup until verification. Verification of what? I ask. Payment is visible in the prior receipt. Identity was not requested until after the label. She says we have discretion. I correct her gently. You have procedure. The printer spits another order for someone behind me. The room is patient, but registering the friction, phones rise a little higher. Not an outrage, in anticipation that the record will matter. My dashboard shows the POS event in red again, reason blank, ops messages that compliance is on the bridge if needed. I reply with a single instruction. Mirror the intercom transcript to the front monitor and flag the phrase code black as out of scope for customer interaction. The monitor near the pastry case flips to a split view. On the left, the transcript with time codes. On the right, the reason code list that appears when a void is initiated. It is a simple list: wrong item, quality issue, duplicate charge, guest request, training error. There is no entry that reads customer unverified or guests only. The new clerk blinks at the screen, then at the lead, then at me. This is the moment a culture chooses whether to double down or recalibrate. I keep my tone level. Team, we will follow the written path. Choose a reason or cancel the void. If you believe we should deny service, select policy, not a person, and read me the clause you're using. The barista nods toward the training tablet as if to say, this is what we were taught. The lead inhales to argue and then stops because the evidence is too public now to spin. She taps the screen, hesitates at the list, and leaves the reason field empty again. Ops pings. Would you like legal to read intercom usage into the room? Yes, on speaker. Legal's voice arrives with the calm of a flight captain. Intercom is reserved for operational calls and safety codes tied to equipment or building status. It is not used to label individuals. Any concern about payment or conduct is handled at the register with standard scripts and reason codes. Use of non-standard labels will be reviewed. No one claps. That is not the point. The point is an audible line drawn where it belongs, at the level of process, not personality. The lead tries to pivot to a softer phrasing, saying, we are just protecting our space. I nod again. Protect it with what is printed, not what is improvised. The monitor shows the 3 words that started this, the red entries that followed, and the slide that says, never label a person. The crowd exhales as if a pressure valve has opened. This is the inciting breach documented in real time. No raised voices, no gotcha reveal, just a visible gap between what we claim and what we did, now measured in logs and policy text. I rest my palm on the counter edge, steady. In a few beats, we will move from documentation to consequence. Not to crush, to correct. Because if a label can be tossed at a founder without consequence, imagine how it lands on a teenager grabbing a hot chocolate after school. Standards are not abstract. They are the difference between a public welcome and a private wall. Silence is not retreat here. It is a tool. I let the room breathe while the monitor holds those lines in plain text. Guests only, sir. Code black at front, possible fraud. Manual void, reason blank. I do not fill the space with explanations. I let the system do the speaking, because systems do not blush or plead. They show what happened and when, and that is the kind of truth people remember after the heat fades. I slide my phone half an inch, angling the dashboard so the clerk can see her own initials next to the entries. She flinches, not from shame, but from recognition that a keystroke is not private when it becomes part of the ledger. I keep my tone even. We will fix this with process. The clerk's hands hover above the keypad, unsure whether to cancel or continue. The shift lead tries to steady her, and in doing so tightens the knot. She repeats a line about protecting product, a safe phrase broad enough to feel official. It would play better if the monitor did not contradict it with every new ping. A father with a stroller steps forward to collect his mobile order. He hesitates as he reaches for a blueberry muffin, waiting to see if this counter recognizes the difference between policy and posture. I nod to him. Enjoy your morning. He nods back and becomes part of the chorus that watches a silent jury that many brands forget they serve. Silence from me is not permission for the other side to script the narrative. Silence is space for the record to form without distortion. Ops messages that the incident lock is armed. When I say the word, everything associated with this minute gets sealed for review. Camera angles, audio, POS events, employee IDs, even the door chime pattern if we need it. I do not press it yet. Strategic silence means choosing the right second, so there is no argument later about context. Let the actions complete themselves. Let the pattern be visible end to end. The barista with the training tablet glances up for a cue. I give her one sentence. You are doing it right. Check policy first. It lands softly, but it lands. She scrolls to the owner on premises module and taps the section that says, Verify policy, not identity, unless identity is volunteered. The line behind me loosens a fraction. People appreciate competence more than conflict. The quiet gathers weight. Legal is still on. Speaker, muted, present. District listens. I can feel the lead wanting to recover control with a brisk instruction. She points to a side sign again and says, We have the right to refuse service. That sentence is true under law and false under our standards if misused. I let it hang. I let the sign sit in the frame with the monitor that shows our guest rights statement. The tension between the two is the lesson. One is a fallback, the other is a promise. I check the time code on my screen. 9 minutes since the first 3 words. Long enough for adrenaline to cool and patterns to show. I ask one question, evenly spaced, no edge on it. Which reason code will you use for the void? The clerk looks at the list, sees none that match the story in her head, and says nothing. The lead starts to answer and reaches for the same blank entry she chose twice already. I do not stop her finger. I let the 3rd red flag populate. 3 is a pattern. 3 is enough for training, for HR review, for a manager's coaching plan that does not feel like guesswork. When the 3rd entry appears, I say the phrase, I saved for this moment. Lock the incident. Ops confirms with a soft tone only I can hear. The dashboard shifts to read only, and a blue banner stretches across the top. This event has been sealed for ethics and quality review. The argument space narrows to exactly what happened, no less, no more. Strategic silence ends here because the record is complete. Now we move. I raise my eyes and speak to the team like I would in a training room. We are going to reset to policy, verify the prior payment, process the refill, and provide a receipt copy on request. If you believe an exception applies, read me the clause. If no clause applies, do not invent one. That is the standard. I do not declare my title. I do not ask for apologies. I give instructions that anyone can follow without losing face. The lead opens her mouth to protest and then closes it when she sees the district manager's name appear in the corner of the monitor. Presence changes choices. The clerk selects cancel. The cup slides back to the neutral zone between us. The printer taps out a fresh receipt. It is a small piece of paper, but it stands for something bigger than a refill. It stands for the idea that dignity is not a favor handed out by a mood. It is a function of process that treats each person as a guest unless behavior triggers a code we all agreed upon. I take the receipt and the cup. I lift the cup just enough to signal that the moment is moving forward, not looping in place. Strategic silence has done its work. It let the room see the difference between a personal stance and a professional standard. It gave the system time to speak in full sentences. Now we will invite authority into the space, not to punish a face, but to adjust a flow. The next part is simple. One call and the people who write the manuals will stand at this counter with their own words on the screen. Then we will measure the gap and close it. Overplay always looks like confidence until the screen disagrees with it. The shift lead squares her shoulders and decides to fix the story with volume. She taps the intercom again and asks for manager assist at front, adds the phrase possibly trespassing, then glances at me as if the word will move me toward the door. The intercom chirp is crisp, the transcript captures it in real time, and the blue ethics banner at the top of my phone reminds me this is now part of the sealed record. Thin power keeps talking after the log is full. That is how it exposes itself. She slides a laminated card across the counter that reads, "We reserve the right to refuse service," and places it beside my cup like a citation. I nod at the card and then at the monitor showing our guest rights statement. Both are true in different lanes. One is a legal umbrella for emergencies. The other is the standard we chose on purpose. She instructs the clerk to mark me as non-paying in the POS so they can hold product. The clerk hesitates, then types it anyway. The reason field still has no matching option, so the entry goes in blank again and pings red. Overplay is repeating a move the system has already flagged. A neighboring customer speaks up, calm and clear. He points to the screen and asks why the reason list doesn't include what they are claiming. The line is not hostile, it is curious. The barista at the training tablet adds that the owner on premises module is literally open on her screen. She reads the header aloud again. Verify policy, Do not label a person. The lead answers that she is protecting the store. The barista answers that the store is protected by following the printed path. Those two sentences hang like opposite ends of a scale. Security walks in from the building corridor, not our team, but the facility staff that covers the block. They stand a respectful distance back and ask what the call is about. The lead says, verification of a suspicious customer. The word suspicious lands heavier than she expects because now it is attached to a transcript and a live audience. Security looks to me with a neutral expression and asks if I need anything. I shake my head. I need policy, not a show of force. The clerk starts a new void attempt, third one, then cancels midstream and tries to start a fourth. The screen flashes a training tip that appears when someone repeats an exception too quickly. It advises to consult the reason code list or a supervisor. She is already looking at both. The monitor mirrors every attempt in quiet, unforgiving detail. I keep my voice level and ask the question that turns escalation into evidence. Which policy clause are you applying? The lead answers with the laminated card again. I ask where the clause lives in our manual. She says discretion. I answer with one sentence. Discretion is not a code. Phones are up now, but no one is baiting anyone. They are tracking the moment a brand chooses its spine. The barista breathes in and says to the lead that she can ring the refill as a courtesy if payment is uncertain, then settle the audit later. The lead shakes her head. She wants the moment to end on her terms, not the company's. That is overplay at its purest. It forgets the company is the terms. I look at the clock. 11 minutes since the first three words. Long enough to give a fair chance to self-correct. Long enough that training has been offered twice and declined. I move the cup back to neutral space, not as a dare, as a reset. Then I make the call I built this system for. One number. Ops, place a live hold on register 1 and temporarily suspend shift lead permissions pending on-site review. Patch legal into the room, invite the district manager to step out of listen mode, bring a compliance readout to the front monitor. Ops confirms. The register beeps and drops to limited mode. The lead's screen grays out and requests a manager login. She stares at it like it glitched. It didn't. The system has entered the scene. Legal's voice arrives a second later, steady as a metronome. They read the intercom and guest rights policies in clean, unadorned language. The district manager steps forward from the side, not dramatic, just present, and asks the team to gather at the counter edge for a policy reset. Security shifts their weight and relaxes, realizing this is not their lane. The customers ease back into their places but keep their eyes up. The barista closes the training module and sets the tablet in view like a textbook on a desk. I say one line that sounds simple and moves the whole room. We will do this by the book. On screen, not by memory. Overplay has reached its limit. The next minutes will not be about opinions. They will be about what the logs allow and what the policies require. Evidence does not shout, it stacks. The front monitor splits into 3 panes, so no one has to imagine what happened. On the left is the intercom transcript with precise time codes, 8 hours, 12 minutes, and 17 seconds. Guests only, sir. 8 hours, 13 minutes, and 2 seconds. Code black at front. Possible fraud. The words are not interpretations. They are text pulled straight from the system. In the middle is the POS action log for register 1, device ID R1AX17, showing 3 manual void attempts, each with reason field blank. On the right is the approved reason code list that never once includes customer unverified or guests only. The room is quiet in the way a courtroom is quiet when the document lands. The barista sets the training tablet just beneath the monitor and opens the owner on premises module. She scrolls to the policy that governs edge cases. Verify payment, verify policy, verify identity, only if volunteered. A simple algorithm that keeps dignity intact. She taps a note field and bookmarks the exact slide so it can be referenced in the incident file later. Her employee number appears in the lower corner, an automatic credit in the log for assisting with standards. That is how truth keepers are built. Not by applause, by audit trails. Ops pushes camera thumbnails to the screen. Angle 1 shows the counter from above with the register, the cup's movement, and the lead's hand reaching for the void key. Angle 2 captures the training tablet and the moment the module opens. The system overlays asset tags and timestamps, aligning the visuals with the text record down to the second. No dramatic zooms, just alignment. People who have never worked a hospitality shift can see how a label turned into an entry and how that entry failed to meet policy. I ask Ops to pin the store metadata on the lower bar, store 214, register 1R1AX17, clerk ID 1042, shift lead ID S309, training tablet TT23. The line sees the bones of the place, the way data forms a spine. It changes how the next minutes feel. We are not in a debate, we are in a review. Legal unmutes long enough to add one sentence for the record. Company policy prohibits the use of coded language about individuals over intercom. All concerns about conduct or payment must be addressed at the register with standard scripts and reason codes. The sentence is dry by design. Dry language is hard to fight with feelings. The lead hears it and presses her lips together, then glances at the laminated card again as if it can outrank the monitor. It cannot. The clerk leans toward the reason list and reads it under her breath. Wrong item, quality issue, duplicate charge, guest request, training error. She looks at the void entries with the blank fields and looks a little relieved that the screen explains why this has felt wobbly. Relief is a sign the culture can swing back to center. Confusion wants a story. Clarity wants a system. The barista adds one more seed to the file. She opens the founders and values slide and highlights the line that mentions community use of surplus funds, veterans hiring, Saturday tutoring. She marks it for the after action report, so the consequence later is tied to purpose, not punishment. I see her initiative, say thank you softly, and note her ID again. Promotions need receipts too. Ops drops a short audit summary into the lower third of the monitor. A habit we built for transparency. Summary 001. 3 intercom events, 3 void attempts, all manual, reasons blank. Policy training available in store at time of incident. This is the substance of a fair verdict later. It is not a list of feelings. It is a list of facts anyone on the floor could replicate if the roles were reversed. I look at the customers as the pains update. A woman in a suit nods once as if to say, this is how you run a brand. A teenager near the pastry case whispers that the screen looks like a video game HUD. He is not wrong. It is an interface for ethical decision making, except the points you win are trust and repeat business. The father with the stroller smiles at the barista when she steadies the tablet. Small civic gestures that reinforce the right behavior without making the wrong behavior a spectacle. The lead exhales and, to her credit, stops talking for a beat. That beat is the first sign she can accept the frame. Evidence changes posture more reliably than speeches do. I give the team one short instruction to close this phase. Everything from 8:10 to 8:20 is part of the record. We will base our next steps only on what is on screen. No hypotheticals. No memory contests. The barista taps the bookmark icon once more. Ops replies, logged. Evidence seeding is not about gathering ammunition. It is about building a map everyone can read the same way. We now have that map. Intercom misuse documented. POS misuse documented. Policy on screen. Community purpose foregrounded. With the map in place, navigation becomes simple. The next call will not be about who is right. It will be about what the system requires. One call later, the authority to act steps into the room, and the screen will take us the rest of the way. One call later means exactly that. I tap a single contact labeled Ops Legal Board, then set the phone on the counter with the speaker on low so it stays conversational, not theatrical. The voice that answers is Operations, crisp and awake. They already see the sealed banner and the mirrored screens. We are live at store 214. Register 1 is in limited mode. Do you want compliance on site? Yes. Bring compliance and district to the front and keep legal on the line. The call is not a flex. It is a handoff from floor emotion to system authority. Operations triggers a rapid response tree we designed for moments like this. 2 blocks away, a compliance lead is finishing a training session. She pivots and starts walking, carrying a slim laptop and a soft voice. The district manager, who had been in listen mode, steps forward from near the pastry case and shows a manager badge that unlocks the register view without touching a single cup. Legal unmutes long enough to confirm what is already on screen and to make one request. Read the policy aloud as written so the team hears it as instruction, not opinion. The monitor shifts to a clean slide with 2 headings: intercom usage, refusals, and exceptions. The district manager reads the first in full sentences. Intercom codes are reserved for equipment, safety, and back-of-house operations. Do not use coded language for individuals. If there is a concern about conduct or payment, address it at the register with standard scripts and reason codes. She reads the second heading without adornment. Refusals require a documented clause. If no clause applies, process the transaction or offer a courtesy and log the reason. Discretion is not a code. Compliance arrives, sets the laptop on the counter edge like a book in a library, and introduces herself as here to help us match practice to print. Her tone is steady. She does not search for villains. She searches for gaps. She asks the shift lead to walk through what she intended to do. The lead says, "Protect product and ensure verification." Compliance nods and points gently to the reason list. Verification is supported by payment confirmation. Protection is supported by waste logs and exception tags. None of that requires labeling a person. The laptop screen shows the crosswalk chart we use in training, translating intentions into steps that do not bruise dignity. Operations pushes a permissions pane to the monitor. It shows the register roles, the actions attempted, and the temporary hold now in place on the shift lead's authorization. The manager badge appears in the corner to indicate who currently holds control. No one is shamed. The interface feels like an air traffic control handoff. A job moves from one seat to another so the plane can land safely. The district manager turns to the clerk with a kinder question. What reason were you looking for? The clerk admits she could not find one that matched the lead's instruction. That is honest and useful. Compliance thanks her for saying it out loud and acknowledges the design problem. If team members feel pressure to invent labels, then we failed to make the right path obvious. She flags a follow-up task to add an inline tip that links courtesy options and audit steps for uncertain payments without touching a person's identity. Legal speaks once more, grounding the moment. The record reflects 3 intercom events and 3 void attempts with blank reasons. Going forward, we will follow the printed code list and the guest rights statement. Any deviation will be corrected in real time. The words do not carry heat, they carry weight. The shift lead exhales, shoulders dropping a notch, and nods. Overplay is done. The room tilts back to center. I do not announce who I am. The screen is already doing the work. I give one clear directive to close the loop, process the refill, print the receipt copy, and note training error as the reason for the previous attempts. Offer the next 2 customers a courtesy drink for the delay and thank everyone for their patience. The clerk taps through with visible relief. The printer chitters. Cups move again. The father with the stroller smiles at the barista, community stitching itself back together one action at a time. Compliance takes a final step that matters more than most people notice. She bookmarks this incident as a live training case and schedules a 10-minute huddle for the afternoon, store-wide, with the exact slides we just used. No gossip, no blame circle, just the path on screen. One call later did not bring a storm. It brought a spine. And now that the spine is visible, the brand can stand up straight without raising its voice. Authority does not arrive with noise. It arrives with clarity. The district manager steps to the front edge of the counter and asks the team to pivot their focus to the monitor. Compliance sets her laptop beside the register and opens a session that shows roles, permissions, and the policy stack relevant to this exact situation. Operations keeps the bridge open in the background, steady and available. Legal remains on the line, only speaking when a line from the manual needs to be read into the room exactly as printed. The shift stops feeling like a debate and starts feeling like a debrief in motion. The district manager begins with a baseline. We are aligning practice to the printed standard. No one is being singled out in public. We are correcting a flow. She points to the intercom transcript and the reason code list. Then she asks the simplest question in hospitality. What should have happened? The clerk answers first because she has the least to defend. Verify payment, process the refill, provide the receipt copy. If uncertain, offer a courtesy and note it. Compliance thanks her and pins that answer to the corner of the screen so it stays visible. It becomes a north arrow for the next few minutes. Compliance requests a quick badge re-authentication on the register to confirm who is acting under which credentials. The clerk badges in. The register reflects her ID immediately. The shift lead tries to badge in and receives the temporary hold. Notice that operations placed. The screen explains why without humiliation. Authorization suspended pending review. That phrasing matters. It describes a state, not a character. The lead can breathe inside that sentence and still return to standards. Legal reads one more section to anchor the room. Refusals and exceptions requires a documented clause. If no clause applies, complete the transaction or offer a courtesy and log the reason. Do not invent labels. Do not move product to make a person move. The words are clinical on purpose. They make it easier for a human to change course without losing face. The district manager thanks legal and mutes the line again. The crowd hears structure. The staff feels a floor under their feet. Operations pushes a 30-day intercom usage snapshot to the monitor. It shows that coded calls are rare and tied to equipment checks and back-of-house needs. No pattern of labels about individuals. That context keeps this incident contained. We are not discovering a culture-wide failure. We are catching a drift before it becomes one. Compliance bookmarks the snapshot for the report, so the team is not judged against a myth, but against data. I stay quiet. My job during an authority drop is to let the people with visible badges do their work. The barista who opened the training deck stays near the tablet and keeps the relevant slide active. She does not grandstand. She makes it easy for the next person to do the right thing with one tap. The clerk breathes easier and keeps serving the line with the district manager beside her for a few transactions, so the muscle memory resets under supervision. Customers accept their drinks, watch the screen, and see a company correct without drama. That is what loyalty looks like in practice. Compliance asks the lead to narrate her thought process, start to finish, so we can fix the gap at the design level. The lead admits she wanted to protect product and set a boundary. Compliance maps that intention to the actual tools on screen. Protection equals waste logs and exception tags. Boundary equals posted guest rights and policy scripts. Neither requires a label aimed at a person. The mapping is soothing. It shows there was a lane available the whole time. The lead nods once, a small reset that matters. The district manager addresses the room without a microphone. Thank you for your patience. We are aligning to our guest rights policy and will be a little slower for the next few minutes. 2 guests will receive a courtesy drink for the delay. That sentence repairs public trust without asking the crowd to take sides. It says we know what our job is and we are doing it. Operations slides a quick checklist to the screen and the team walks through it in under a minute. Verify payment, process refill, print receipt copy, no training error for the earlier attempts. Review intercom usage in the afternoon huddle, confirm signage is posted and current, schedule a bias and standards refresh for the shift. Each item receives a small green tick that the monitor shows in real time. The ritual of green ticks calms a nervous floor faster than any speech. People like seeing completion, not just hearing intent. Legal closes with one line for the record. The on-site team has returned to printed procedure. Further review of the earlier actions will occur with HR and compliance according to policy. The call remains open if needed. The voice fades back to mute. The store sounds like a caf again. Steam, printer, door chime, low talk. The authority drop is complete. Not a spectacle, a reset. I take a breath I have been holding and set the cup down so the rim does not tap the counter. I am still just a customer in the room to anyone who has not looked closely at the training slide. I am not hiding. I am letting the standard do its work without attaching it to a personality. The reveal can wait one more beat. The important thing has already happened. The system has the floor and everyone can see it. The moment to reveal is not a drum roll. It is a clean handoff from rumor to record. The district manager has the team gathered at the counter edge. Compliance has the crosswalk chart open. Legal is quiet on the line. The training tablet still shows owner on premises, a slide most people skim on day one. I ask the manager to open the second page of that module. She does. And a simple headshot fills the frame beside a short paragraph about standards audits. The room registers the photo before the words. The barista who kept the slide up is the first to connect it. She looks at me, at the tablet, back to me. Her mouth does not fall open. She just nods, like a person who enjoys when a puzzle clicks. I speak in the same tone I have used all morning. My name is on that slide. I am here today as an ethics auditor for our brand, observing how our policies perform on a normal morning. I will remain on site through the debrief and will sign the incident log before I leave. No flourish. No raised voice. The monitor and the tablet carry the weight. The crowd does not gasp. They shift, the way a group shifts when the map in their heads redraws without fanfare. Ops pins a verification tile to the lower third of the monitor. Owner audit in progress. Auth token verified. The tile includes a tiny checklist most customers will never notice. Badge match confirmed. Device match confirmed. On-premises flag set at 0805. The district manager turns to the team. We will walk through the timeline once with the correct names attached, and then we will correct. No one is asked to apologize on camera. That is not our culture. People are asked to match their actions to what is printed. I ask compliance to replay the intercom and POS sequence from the top while the training deck sits in view. The intercom transcript scrolls. Guests only, sir. Then code black at front, possible fraud. The POS log shows the 3 manual void attempts, with reasons blank. The crosswalk chart overlays the correct path. Verify payment, offer courtesy if uncertain, attach a reason code. The gap between what happened and what should have happened is not a mystery anymore. It is a line you could step across with one tap. The shift lead says, she understands. It lands better than an apology would because it is functional, not theatrical. She asks what happens next. I answer plainly. Your on-shift authorization is suspended pending review. You will complete a bias and standards recert this week. A manager will shadow your next 2 shifts. The phrase pending review is not a punishment. It is a status that keeps the store safe while people adjust. The clerk's shoulders relax a fraction. She will get coaching, not blame. The barista receives a small nod from the district manager that looks a lot like a future promotion. Proof without a plan is just a gotcha. We attach the plan now. Compliance schedules a 10-minute huddle for this afternoon with the same slides we used and with the video pane that shows the exact moves that went wrong and the simple moves that would have been right. Ops adds a task to product that links courtesy options to the void flow so no one ever feels forced to invent a label to hold a cup. Legal notes that the phrase code black will be removed from any scripts that could surface at front of house and replaced with neutral operational language. The plan reads like a software patch list because that is how culture changes stick. Small, specific, testable. I take one step back so the counter belongs again to the team. The district manager turns to the line and speaks as if this were a daily briefing, not a spectacle. Thank you for your patience. We are processing a refill and a receipt copy and then returning to normal pace. 2 courtesy drinks will be offered for the delay. The father with the stroller smiles toward the barista. The woman in a suit checks her watch and then nods. Customers like to see a company correct without rage or spin. They like to see names on a screen and steps that make sense. The barista rings the refill. The clerk prints the receipt copy and places it on the counter with the steadiness of someone who now has a lane to follow. I slide the receipt into my wallet, lift the cup, and look at the monitor one more time. Evidence is still stacked, but it is no longer the headline. The headline is that a system designed to protect dignity and revenue just flexed and then relaxed, as it should. Before the next order is called, I sign the incident log with my name and the time and ask Ops to attach the training tablet, bookmarks, and the audit summary to the file. Done, says the quiet voice on the bridge. The district manager thanks the team and the customers. She thanks the barista by name. I add one line I use when a room needs to know what I am actually for. I am here for standards. Not status, not theater, standards. Then I step aside and let the CAF sound like a CAF again. Steam, printer, door chime, low talk. Proof is now a record, and the record is now a teacher. Verdict is not a speech. It is a sequence of actions that change what happens next. I look at the district manager and compliance, then at the monitor where the timeline sits in full view. We keep our voices steady and move. First, authorization. Shift lead. Your on-shift register permissions are revoked, effective now, and remain suspended pending HR and compliance review. You will complete a bias and standards recert within the week and return under manager shadow for 2 shifts after that. Operations confirms the hold. The screen shows authorization suspended beside the lead's ID. No dramatics. Just a gate closed until training reopens it. Second, freeze. This location's quarterly bonus pool and the discretionary training stipend are frozen pending the recert cycle and the after-action review. The freeze is not punishment for everyone. It is an incentive to complete the reset together. When the huddle runs this afternoon, attendance will be logged. When the recert passes, the freeze lifts. Ops tags the store profile with a blue ribbon labeled Freeze Active. It will turn green when the checklist is done. The team can watch their own progress unfreeze what the morning paused. Third, log. Ethics and quality have the sealed incident file already, but we add the anchors that make it teachable. Compliance attaches the intercom transcript, the POS action history, the 2 camera angles, the training tablet bookmarks, and a short summary that reads like a change log. Intercom language tightened. Courtesy flow cross-linked to void path. Reason code tip surfaced at repeat exceptions. The file earns a clean name with a time code so trainers can pull it later without guesswork. Logs are not there to scare people. They are there to relieve memory from doing the job of evidence. I add one more line that belongs in every verdict. Customer repair. 2 courtesy drinks now for the delay. A brief note on the community board by end of day summarizing the standard we upheld. Not a public shaming. A public standard. The clerk nods, rings the courtesies, and the printer returns to its ordinary chatter. Operations schedules the 10-minute huddle for late afternoon and pushes the invite to every badge that clocked in today. Legal drafts the 2-sentence policy bulletin that will ride the manager channel this week. It clarifies that code black and any coded language about individuals are removed from front-of-house scripts and replaced with neutral operational calls. Facilities and security receive the same note, so the building's language does not drift from the brands. The lead stands very still. She is not fired in front of a crowd. She is put back into a lane with guardrails. That is what fairness looks like inside a system. It protects service now and preserves a path back later if the training sticks. The clerk's shoulders drop. Her next tap is steadier. The barista keeps the owner on premises slide open long enough for one more customer to see it and understand why this room feels different than most places where mistakes become theater. I ask ops to pin a short verdict strip to the bottom of the screen so the room can see the backbone of what just happened. Authorization suspended, store freeze active, pending recert. Incident sealed and attached to training. The strip is not for applause, it is for closure. People relax when outcomes are legible. The district manager thanks the line again and sets a simple expectation. The rest of the shift will run by the book. If an edge case appears, we will cite a clause before we act. That sentence is the thesis of the brand in one breath. Cite a clause, then act. I finish my coffee and sign the incident file with my name and time. The signature is not the point. The audit trail is. Proof has become policy again. The store hums, steam, door chime. Small talk. The verdict is already dissolving into routine, which is exactly where a good verdict belongs. It leaves behind a clearer path, a cooler room, and a team that knows the difference between enforcing a mood and enforcing a standard. Terminate what should stop, freeze what should wait, log what should teach, then move the line. Systemic repair starts quietly, the way good maintenance always does. Operations pushes a district-wide notice that store 214 has triggered a standards cascade. It's not a headline, it's a task list. The first line is the audit sweep. 3 surprise visits at neighboring locations in the next 10 days, staggered across morning rush, lunch bump, and late afternoon. Auditors will use the same on-screen policy tiles we used here, so the test feels like a mirror, not a trap. The The point is to reteach muscle memory with the actual buttons people touch, not with a memo they'll forget by Friday. Compliance converts the incident file into a short module called Guests Only, What Policy Says Instead. It's 10 slides, 2 minutes of clipped video, exactly one decision tree. Managers receive it on their tablets with a due date and an automatic check that confirms each badge opened the module and tapped through the key screens. Completion is visible on a small district dashboard, not to expose laggards, but to let support arrive where it's needed. Legal adds a 1-page addendum to the guest rights statement, clarifying intercom scope and replacing any legacy code words with neutral operational calls. Facilities and security acknowledge the change, so the building's language aligns with the brand's. Product jumps in too. They push a micro update to the POS that links courtesy options directly inside the void flow. If a clerk hesitates over payment, a tooltip now offers the route that keeps dignity intact and inventory honest. A second tweak adds a soft warning after the second manual exception in a minute, prompting the user to cite a reason or ask a supervisor. It feels like a seatbelt chime, not a scold. The district manager schedules afternoon huddles for a week, 10 minutes each, standing at the counter with the monitor on. Teams read the same lines we read today. Verify payment. Verify policy. Verify identity only if volunteered. People repeat the words out loud so they leave the room with a sentence in their mouth, not just an idea in their head. The best coaches keep it concrete. They have baristas role play the moment a label wants to leap out and trade it for a reason code. Community repair matters, so the store posts a brief note on the corkboard near the water station. Today we pause to align with our guest rights policy. We serve people by policy, not by labels. Thank you for your patience. No names, no drama, just the standard. 2 courtesy drink cards ride the board for the next week. Staff are told to hand them out for any delay over 2 minutes. Small gestures smooth the space where the incident happened without turning it into a shrine. I send a quiet thank you to the barista who anchored the policy on screen. Ops attaches a recognition tag to her profile so the next promotion panel sees more than numbers. Truth Keeper is not a slogan. It's a role with receipts. The clerk receives a coaching plan with 2 supervised shifts and a quick recert. The shift lead's review is scheduled with HR and compliance together, not to stack pressure, but to keep the conversation consistent. The goal is a return to standards, not a ceremony of blame. Data finishes the sweep. Operations turns on a temporary district metric called label to code, tracking how often teams choose reason codes over improvised language when stress rises. It's a small needle that moves slowly, but watching it move is how you know culture is adjusting. Another metric watches intercom usage for 30 days, looking for drift. If nothing drifts, the audit softens back to normal cadence. If it does, the system nudges again. By closing time, the store feels like a caf, not a courtroom. The incident banner in the dashboard now sits inside a resolved frame with links to the training slice and product patch notes. The team knows exactly what changed. A few words on a screen, a few keystrokes in a flow, and a shared sentence that draws the line where it belongs. Systemic repair is never about a single face. It's about sanding the rough edge off a process so the next person who stands at this counter is met by a script, not a hunch. I step outside, check the district dashboard on my phone, and see green ticks lighting up as huddles complete and modules close. The brand is not louder than it was this morning. It is steadier. That's the only volume that holds. Tomorrow, a different store will run the same test. The map is written now, follow the clause, make the call, log the result, then serve the next cup. Aftercare is the part most people never see, because it doesn't crackle like a reveal. It hums. The afternoon huddle runs on time with cups still moving, 10 minutes. On-screen policy, then quick role play, then back to the line. Compliance keeps the slides tight, the district manager keeps her voice low, and the barista who anchored the training tablet stands to the side without a spotlight. She doesn't need one. Her name is on a recognition tag in the system now, which matters more than applause. By close, a short internal note lands in every inbox that clocked in today. Lesson, reference links, 2 sentences of context, and a reminder that courtesy options are built into the flow. People sleep better when tomorrow's standard is simple. The next morning, The store opens on time, and the dashboard shows a small green frame around Register 1. Permissions right-sized, training flags attached, signage verified. The clerk steps onto the floor with supervised calm and a new habit of reading the reason list out loud for edge cases. It sounds like overkill for a day, and then it becomes muscle memory again. The shift lead meets HR and compliance in a room with decent light and a table that fits 3 laptops. No speech, no theater. They replay the timeline, match intention to tools, and draft a coaching plan she can execute in 2 weeks. Suspended authorization is a pause, not an ending. If she clears the recert and works a clean shift under shadow, she returns with a steadier hand. I send a quiet message to ops to place the Truthkeeper barista on the next promotion slate. The file already reflects her decisions. Policy surfaced, crosswalk chart opened, bookmarks created, district huddle aided. Numbers matter and will be there, but this part of the profile says she defends standards under stress. In our company, that is leadership. The district manager adds a note for a modest raise and a lead barista trial in 2 weeks. Small, concrete, earned. Community repair finishes where it began, at the counter. A postcard-sized printout appears near the water station. We paused service briefly yesterday to realign with our guest rights policy. We appreciate your patience. We serve by policy, not by labels. 2 courtesy cards ride beneath it. Staff are instructed to offer them for any delay over 2 minutes this week. No sign mentions an incident. The sign mentions a standard. Customers understand the difference, and it keeps the story from curdling into gossip. Legal closes the loop with facilities and building security, so language is clean end to end. Intercom codes now read like equipment and safety, not people. Product ships the POS tip that links courtesy directly from the void flow, and the soft warning after repeat exceptions reminds a harried clerk to pick a reason or call for help. It feels like a seatbelt chime, no scold. Just a nudge toward the lane that protects dignity and inventory in the same motion. By the weekend, the veterans hiring line is still funded, and the Saturday tutoring table hums in the back with a handful of algebra problems and the sound of milk steaming. The label that tried to replace a policy is gone. In its place is a habit you can hear and see. Verify payment. Verify policy. Verify identity only if volunteered. The crew says it out loud a few times each shift until the words settle back into their hands. The district metric called label to code ticks a point toward the right. Not fireworks, not a sprint, just a slow, visible slide toward better. 1 week later, I walk in the same door, order the same refill, and sit in the same spot. No one flinches. The clerk checks the prior receipt, taps the reason list, then smiles because she doesn't need it after all. The cup moves without friction. The door chime rings. The printer taps out tickets. The room is ordinary again, which is exactly the point. When a system works, dignity feels unremarkable. I sign the incidents after action page, attach the product patch notes, and note that the huddles hit 98% completion across the district. 2 stores asked for extra coaching and got it. 1 removed a legacy sign that contradicted our guest rights statement. Quiet fixes travel farther than loud ones. Before I leave, I pause near the corkboard. The recognition tag for the barista has been printed as a small card she can take home. I slide a sticky note beside it with a simple sentence I use when a space needs to remember where authority lives. Standards are the highest person in the room. Then I step outside into a morning that looks like any other, because the best endings put the world back in place with a clearer spine. If you were in the line that day, what you saw was not a win. It was a calibration. Terminate what should stop. Freeze what should wait. Log what should teach. Promote the one who kept the manual open when it mattered. That is how you turn a 3-word slight into a better Tuesday for the next 100 people. I am not here for status. I am here for standards. And the standards are here for everyone who walks through the door.